Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at mediuminthemiddle. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 36. In today's episode, we are going to be talking further about the Akashic Records. So if you missed the first episode about the Akashic Records, pause this episode and go back to episode 34 to hear the basics. We cover the basics, and in this episode, we're just going to dive a little bit deeper because I've received a lot of questions and feedback, and people are really into the records and want to know more. And as I learn more, I am really interested in sharing it with all of you. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. Please press that subscribe button. Every Tuesday, I release a new episode. And if you are using iTunes, I would really appreciate a rating and a review. It will just take a minute of your time, and it really helps me out in the podcast world to help other listeners find me. So thank you to everyone who has already left a review. I really love reading them. So to start off, I pulled a card for the audience. I'm pulling an oracle card from the Colette Baron Reed deck, the Enchanted Map, and today's card pull was card number 31, and it is Dry Desert. Just as a funny aside, I'll show you the picture of the card on Instagram, but the D's look like O's, so when I first pulled this card, I was trying to say it, and I was saying Ori Ozert, and I was like, what is Ori Ozert? And it wasn't until I was reading the card description that I realized it was Dry Desert. So that was funny. So the card description: dig deep for inspiration and truth. Now is the time to become resilient and adaptable. The full card description. Is your life presenting you with opportunities that seem to yield nothing? Have your ideas dried up? Does it feel like you're on an endless journey through a dry, hot, lifeless desert? This card reminds you that there are times when you're meant to become resilient as you journey through harsher circumstances. You're being required to conserve your energy until after consistent effort you reach the oasis you're searching for. Consider the creatures that live in these conditions. They have adapted to thrive in spite of the outer environment. In a desert, water, essential for life, can be found deep underground. Go deep within yourself now. Find your truth there. Let spirit sustain you while you locate the real source. Whatever it is you're asking about will not be found in the conditions you're in until you move past the surface of things and choose to do the real work and discover the answers deep within you. This may not seem like the most productive time, but looks are deceiving. This is a most important place to find what's truly right for you. This card was a good one for me of what I'm experiencing in quarantine right now. I'm definitely getting to the end of my very short patience rope, and this was kind of a nice reminder that we have to dig deep for the water, and it's in the hard work where really things happen. So let's jump into today's topic. Diving deeper into the Akashic Records, I wanted to talk more about the questions that you ask in the records, because the records are based on you asking questions, and I wanted to also touch on what the most popular question has been. So after you become a certified Akashic Record reader, you have to do 30 days of practice readings. And when I went into my records, they told me I should do 13 or 17 practice readings. So I booked 13 readings with friends, and then now my list is at 17, so I had a feeling that would happen. So I'm going to re-ask in my records after I'm completed the 17 readings if I need to do more practice readings. But in the 15 readings that I've already completed in the past 2 weeks, I've learned a lot already. And because there was a lot of interest around this topic, I thought I would share it with you, as I will definitely be offering Akashic Record readings. It's something I'm super interested in, and I'll talk about more why I love them in this episode as well. So as I mentioned in episode 34, my Akashic Record reading training was based on the Linda Howe book, How to Read the Akashic Records. So just to save me from paraphrasing, I want to read a few things from the book that I think is very helpful to common questions. So I'm just going to reread from page 3 here, what are the Akashic Records? So I'm going to quote the book. These are not my words, and I will link down below in the description exactly what book this is if you're interested in it. So what are the Akashic Records? The Akashic Records are a dimension of consciousness that contains a vibrational record of every soul and its journey. This vibrational body of consciousness exists everywhere in its entirety and is completely available at all times in all places. As such, the records are an experiential body of knowledge that contains everything that every soul has ever thought, said, and done over the course of its existence, as well as its future possibilities. So I also wanted to explain the process of accessing the records and what it's like. So for me, it's very different from talking to spirit. It's very different than doing Reiki energy healing. So I'm going to read again from the book, page 4. In the process of accessing or opening the Akashic Records, we transition from a state of ordinary human consciousness to a state of divine universal consciousness, in which we recognize our oneness with the divine at all levels. This state of consciousness allows us to perceive the impressions and vibrations of the records. I also want to quote from page 6. The Akashic Records are the light body of universal self-awareness. As such, they contain the universal consciousness, which its 3 main components of mind, heart, and will. So when you are in your Akashic Records, you are speaking, quote, unquote, air quote, you're speaking with your masters, teachers, and your loved ones. And the lords of the records work with your masters, teachers, and loved ones who serve as the interface between the Akashic and the earthly realms by downloading to the masters, teachers, and loved ones the information that will be revealed to you during your Akashic Record readings. So sometimes people are questioning who I'm talking to when I'm in the records or who's speaking through me, and it's your masters, teachers, and your loved ones. The way that it was explained in the course was your masters are similar to, you could say, like your spirit guides. Your teachers are spirits that come and go throughout your life as they teach you things. So they would come in, teach you something, exit, and a new teacher would come in. And then your loved ones are, of course, your loved ones from this lifetime. So the next question that I get asked most often is why you need your legal name to get into the records. So when I send the email of what you need to know before your Akashic Record readings, I talk about how you need to know your legal name, the way the IRS sees you, the way you write on your tax forms, what is your legal name on your birth certificate. And an often asked question is, why are the records attached to our legal name? If they're attached to our soul, what do they need our name for? So I really wanted to talk about that, and I'm also going to use the book because I want the information to be factual, and I don't want to paraphrase a sentence when I can just read it to you and quote her. To explain this properly, I am going to read a quote from page 8 and 9 of the book. The Akasha is organized in a way that allows us humans to interact with the spiritual resource and gain insight, guidance, and understanding within earthly time and space. In order for the records to be accessible to us, they are organized by current legal names. This way, whatever lifetime we are in, we can gain entry and find the blueprint or the record of our individual soul and examine the path to its realization. While it is true that the Akashic records of every soul exist everywhere all at once and are entirely accessible, it would not be useful to have total access to a soul's record during a single Akashic reading. The information would be so vast and overwhelming that deciphering it would be nearly impossible and could do more harm than good. Every name has a distinct vibrational quality. So when we open a particular soul's records, we use the name that the soul is currently using in this lifetime. The vibration of that name then makes available to us the set of records that contains the information that will be most relevant during the reading. It's no wonder the Akashic Records have been likened to a cosmic internet that allows us to Google specific information when we open a person's record. End quote. So I just wanted to discuss this further because this is why your questions are important. It is exactly like your records are Google. So when you go in, Google won't just tell you everything that they know. You have to ask Google a question. And when you search something in Google, all of those options come up. So if I were to search food in Google, I might get 10 million links. Same in the Akasha. But if I'm specific, if I say, what foods should I be avoiding? Not that you would ask that question in your Akashic Records, but just as an example, we're going to use this. If I were to Google, what food should I be avoiding? I might get 10,000 downloads. And from there, I can be more specific in my questions to get the information that I need for right now. It is the same when you go into your records. The more specific you are with your questions, the more information you're able to get. So I want to dive into how to make questions so that you can get the most out of an Akashic Record readings. Through the practice readings that I've done the last 2 weeks, I've noticed that the more specific and descriptive the questions are, the more information that you get from the reading and the better the reading can be. So in the description of how to form questions, I recommend, well, I don't only recommend, they recommend how, what, or why questions, not when. So the Akashic Records can't tell you when you're going to get engaged, but how, what, or why questions. Your question needs to be about you because your records are about you, so you can't ask about other people. And you also have to talk about your current life as it is now. And avoid yes or no questions because there's no substitute for your free will. So the records will never tell you what to do. They will tell you all future possibilities, but it's still your choice. And they won't tell you when you're going to get engaged, when this is going to happen. Should I do this? Should I do that? You don't want to use shoulds. You want the records to give you useful information about your past so that you're able to pull useful information from your Google, we'll use this reference, that it can best help you in your life now. A really good question to ask is why. So what I've noticed is people ask why things happened to them. Why did my dad leave me when I was young? Why did I get bullied for this? Why blank? And it's really informative to know why things happen to you or to understand lessons that perhaps you missed, or to take the information to a deeper level. So sometimes the records say, if your heart wasn't broken then, it would have been broken in a worse way down the line, and it would have been harder for you. So actually, this made you who you are and the strong person that you are today, and you were going to go through that no matter what. You just got it that way. You can also ask questions in the record that have a backstory to it. So you can say, when I was younger, for 2 years, I would wake up in the middle of the night and have these nightmares. Why would I wake up and have these nightmares? What was happening back then, and what do I need to know from it now? So these questions can be bigger and complex, and you can explain your story about what you want to know, habits that you now have, you want to know where they came from, things that you experienced when you were younger that you now want an explanation for. The records can help you with all of that. And the reason why I personally love this is that you can get answers. You can get answers that are from yourself, and you get answers where you still are in choice of what to do. So something that I constantly have my Reiki clients coming to me for is answers. They want me to tell them what to do next. They're looking to me for right or wrong, and they want my interpretation of what they should be doing. And I don't believe that's my place to do it. The records, however, will tell you this because it's coming from you. So you can go in and ask those hard questions, and you're talking to your past. You're talking about things that you've experienced, and you're gaining insight from things you've already done. This can be difficult to look back and pull that information from our past to make what we're experiencing now all make sense. So I just wanted to read a few other questions that you can ask in the records that might give you a better idea of ways that you can dig deeper. So, what can you tell me about this relationship? What is my part in blank? Why do I have such a difficult time with blank? What can I do to make blank better? So when you explain the Akashic Records in this way, people think that it is access to past lives. So it is not a past life regression. We are not going into your records to talk about what you did in your past life. What were you in your life before this one? Your past lives and records of that only comes up if it is meant to teach you a lesson in this life. So I have personally never gone that deep. But our teacher talked about how if the answer to your question requires information from a past life, the records will go there. However, if you don't need to know that information, they won't go there. So in the level that I have now, we don't go into past life regressions. We don't dive into what was I in my last life, how many lives have I lived, what have I been before. That's not discussed unless your questions answer requires going into that information and explaining what happened in those lifetimes. So now I want to talk about the most asked question that I've received from doing all these practice sessions. It's been very interesting to see what questions people come up with, what they want to know about, what they're interested in learning about themselves. But this question came up in at least 7 of my 15 readings that I've done so far, so nearly half. And the question is, what is my life's purpose? Or am I on the right path? This has been the most asked question in the records. So I wanted to talk about it on the podcast because I think it's an interesting question that is what people want to know. They want to know if they're doing the right thing. They want to know that they're on the right path. And they want to know, what's their purpose? What are they doing here? And I think this is something that we all want to know and we're all striving for. And this is the point of life. This is what we do. So I wanted to share with you a few of the answers because I found that it might be helpful to share what other people are getting as answers and that other people are all asking the same questions and thinking the same thing as you are. I'll talk about 2 different answers that the records have given. So in one, the records talked about how this person's life was in 3 parts. So in part 1, part 2, part 3, there was going to be 3 main focuses in their life, and their purpose was going to change over those parts of their lives. And they explained that right now they were only in the first part of their life, and the purpose might not be clear now, but when they got to stage 2, stage 1 is going to be very clear of what that purpose was. So that was a very interesting answer. Another time someone asked that question, the records explained that if it isn't clear what their purpose is now, when they achieve something or get to the place they think they need to be going, when they look back, they'll get it. So there was this common theme that when we're going on the path and going through life, we might not understand our purpose, but when we look back, we can easily see our purpose. Or when we are able to stop and turn around the mountain that we're going up, we understand where we've come from and why we had to come from there. So another one that asked this as well, the record said that you might not see your purpose right now and who you're impacting, but for every one person that comes back to tell you that you impacted their life, there's 10 more people who didn't come back to tell you that you impacted their life. And that was really powerful for her to hear because she said that she does have people who will message her a few years after meeting her, and they maybe only met for a few days or a week while traveling, just letting her know how much she changed and affected their life. And she said, that always makes me feel so nice that these people reach out to me and tell me that I've affected their life in a positive way, that they appreciate me posting whatever I'm posting. And the records talked about how for every one person that does that, there's 10 more people who don't tell you that. And while that might not feel like your purpose, that's a huge part of who you are and why you're here. If part of your purpose is to help others in their journey and to help guide others, that's huge. But we don't always realize what our purpose is when we're just living our lives being who we are. But for the most part, living our lives and being who we are, doing what we're doing is our purpose. So it's really interesting the way that the records explain this to different people in the ways that they need to hear it. And it's never you're on the wrong path. It's just you had to do that path to get where you are now. You had to experience this to be where you are now or who you are now. So there's never any regrets. There's always lessons to be learned. But it's just really interesting about how we're all on this journey together, wondering what we're meant to be doing on this journey. Something that my mentor shared with me when she was doing a session, she said, Steph, you're always in a hurry for the next thing. You always want to know what's next, what's next, what's next. You have a plan, you want to go, you want to do this, you want to do that. And I was like, well, yeah, like we're all pushing forward. Like, what's the point of life if I'm not trying to be better and trying to do the next thing and trying to do as much as possible? Like, I don't want to waste 1 minute. And she just said to me, what's the point of rushing to the end if the journey is life? She's like, what are you running to the finish line for? The process is life. Your in-betweens, this and that, is when you're experiencing life. She said, enjoy it. Stop running to the next thing and not enjoying where you are. And I think of what she told me that day often because it makes sense. And I think, why am I running to the next thing? If this is life, why am I always in a hurry for the next thing? I should be enjoying the process and the steps while we're doing them. So if you needed to hear that today, this is me telling you, enjoy the process. I know it's kind of weird to say now when we're in quarantine and life is so slow. But again, what are we rushing to get back to work for? We're going to be working for the rest of our lives. We're going to be busy for the rest of our lives. Can we stop rushing to get to the next thing and just enjoy where we are now? And me saying it that way, definitely I needed to hear that because I am rushing and wanting to get back to normal. But this is where we are right now, and we need to remember to be present and really enjoy this because we're not going to get this time ever again. So those were the few main points that I wanted to touch on today about the Akashic Records. As I learn more and I read more, I'll continue to share my journey with you because I do believe this is going to be part of my work. I really like doing readings. I enjoy offering them, and it's also getting me very comfortable with turning on the computer and reading for someone. So I think another main part of this is that I need to get used to doing readings on the computer. Hint, hint, mediumship readings. I need to bring them online, and I know this. So I think a big part of me doing this course was for me to become comfortable with turning on the computer, saying hello, and getting to work. And for the Akashic readings, it seems easy for me to just turn on and go, get your name, say the prayer, drop in, say goodbye. And I know that this is the universe's way of telling me I need to get my stuff together for mediumship readings. And I hear you, universe, and I'm working on it. And this will be a topic of another episode. But I will talk about my practice mediumship readings that I have also been doing. So thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned something. If you're curious about Akashic Records, I hope you learned a little bit more. If you're interested in a reading, I will be offering them very soon. My website is almost done, where I will have Distance Reiki available. Yes, it's coming available, and Akashic Record readings will also be on there. So very cool. I'm excited to connect with a lot of you, my listeners from all around the world. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And if you are an iTunes user, I would love a rating and a review. It just takes a few seconds of your time, but if you enjoyed this episode, if you could write a sentence or two with a 5-star rating, I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. As always, the card that I pulled from Today's episode will be posted on my Instagram account, so if you would like to follow me at Medium in the Middle, it'll be posted on Instagram and Facebook. The links are all below in the description, and I will see you all next Tuesday. Have a great week. Thanks for listening. Bye.